You don't have to hide, you don't have to run, you don't have to accept defeat. Like, you can change the way you're self-healing. Like, this is amazing. How is this kind of hidden right now?
Hello, Dharma Talk community, and welcome back for episode, can you believe it, number 10. I'm going to use this little milestone to express my gratitude for everyone who's been listening from the beginning. And this project has really been so rewarding for me, not just because of the awesome conversations that I've gotten to have with some really inspirational people, but because of the feedback that I've received from some of you listeners. So to those of you who've already said something nice to me in person or through Instagram or email, I really appreciate it. And if you haven't yet, the best thing you can do to thank me is to leave a review on iTunes. And I know I say this at the end of every episode, but it really is important. And the reason why is iTunes cares. iTunes cares how many people subscribe, who's reviewed, who's rated, and they use that information to determine whether or not they should show this podcast to more people. So if you want to thank me, great, that's a way to do it. But if you want more people to hear the message of this podcast, then please, please, please leave a nice review on iTunes. Okay, that's enough about that. Now I want to tell you about today's guest, because this week I'm interviewing my friend Ainsley Ayres. Ainsley is an incredibly inspirational yogi. She can do all the wild and crazy postures, but more than that, when you first meet her, she just radiates joy. So much so that you would never expect what she tells me on this interview, which is that she got into yoga because she found that it helped her to overcome issues with self-confidence and self-worth. So we do talk about that. We talk about specifically a cocktail of mantras and meditation techniques she's used to overcome self-doubt, build confidence, and find the joy in life. We also talk about being honest and unapologetic with yourself about your obsessions, regardless of what other people think or what other people's definition of normal looks like. And since she's been so successful in the yoga competition circuit, yoga competitions? What? Yeah, I know. We talk about why she competes in yoga and why competition has never felt antithetical to the nature of yoga as she's aligned with the practice. So you're going to get all of that right after just a couple of announcements. Yoga teachers, if you're not building your email list, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Look, followers are great, but Instagram and YouTube, those things are all rented space. And if the companies that control them change the algorithm or pull out the rug from under you, your ability to communicate with your students en masse could vanish just like that. And that's why email is the most important tool in your tool belt for communicating with your audience. The platform that I use is called ConvertKit, and I've chosen it after testing out a lot of the alternatives because I think the user interface is intuitive, it's easy to use, and it's simple to design automations. If I'm triggering your technophobia right now, don't worry. That's just a way for you to spend less time on the computer so you can spend more time teaching and doing what you love. I use email and ConvertKit whenever I want to get in front of you guys about new podcast episodes, new online classes on my website, or a workshop coming up, or even to learn more about what you guys need. And ConvertKit has paid for itself many times over in private lessons, workshop attendees, and other opportunities that have come my way through email. So here's my offer to you. I want to give you a 14-day free trial of ConvertKit, no risk, no strings attached. And you can sign up for that at henrywins.com/CK. And when you sign up through that link, I'll also give you as a bonus my 3-pronged list building strategy. And for the first 10 people who sign up after this episode airs, I'll also give you a 20-minute call with me over Skype to help set up your account. Sign up for your free 14-day trial of ConvertKit at henrywins.com/CK. What's your purpose? What's your vision? What mark will you leave on this planet long after you're gone? I'm Henry Winslow, and you're listening to Dharma Talk, the only podcast where I interview inspirational yogis on how they're changing the world in their own unique ways. Whether you're still searching for your purpose or already walking the path, I hope these stories get you excited to live your Dharma. Hello, Dharma Talk community. Welcome back for another episode. And today I have my friend as a guest, Ainsley Ayres. Ainsley is a silver medalist from the 2015 and 2017 USA National Yoga Championships, and in 2016 finished fourth at the World Yoga Sports Championship. Apart from taking her onto the world stage, yoga has also helped Ainsley recover from sport injuries, manage depression, anxiety, and ADHD. But above all else, Ainsley finds unending joy in practicing yoga and sees her life's purpose to spread the practice. So thank you so much for coming on, Ainsley. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Henry. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. I'm so excited to have you on.
I know you too. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Well, let's just jump straight in. I always ask my guests the same first question, and I'm not going to change that today. So what does the word Dharma mean to you? And what is your Dharma as you understand it today?
I think that's a phenomenal question. And I think it's also a great question to continually ask yourself throughout your life. It's not just one and done, to me, is what I think. Dharma to me is purpose and your life's purpose. And I feel like the nitty-gritty details of your Dharma, like what you should be doing to fulfill your this life's purpose, might change from time to time, period to period in your life. And to me, Dharma is like fitting puzzle pieces together, basically. Like you kind of know when it clicks and you're in the flow and you're fulfilling your life's purpose and you're doing the work that you need to be doing in order to get there. And for me, why that, I guess, metaphor resonates so much is because my life's purpose, I feel like, is to teach and to continually practice so that I might still be able to teach and learn and discover and spread the joy that is yoga, like my bio said. But for me, I guess I can almost relatively instantly tell if I'm staying true to my Dharma or my purpose or not. Like decisions that I make, or basically like I just feel totally liberated. And not to say that life is easy all the time, but whenever I'm really in the flow and really working on teaching, but also working on myself so that I might be the best channel that I can be, things just happen, and like the universe just has your back. Not to sound like super yoga-y, but the universe has your back when you're like doing the work that needs to be done. And several times in my life, like I've had instances where I've doubted myself and kind of like strayed away, like maybe I should do this because this is more secure. And what really happens, it's not exactly a more secure path. It for me has led to pain, not necessarily like extreme pain sometimes, yes, but it just feels like this isn't working and I'm being pushed out in some way. And so I think it's your life's work, your life's purpose. Mine definitely, I feel like, is teaching and making the practice of yoga accessible to people. I think a lot of times people think that it's this thing that, I could never do that, or I'm not flexible, so I could never do yoga. But a lot of yoga isn't even asana or yoga posture anyway, but just the practices of being mindful and checking in and all these ancient gifts that have been given us that I feel like a lot of people, sometimes including myself, have forgotten. And so just bringing that back, applying that to your modern day life and living with as much enjoyment and joy as you can, no matter what.
It really does ultimately come back to the joy. Even when you're talking about, those aspects of the yoga tradition that are so often forgotten, like you said. I mean, even the way that you choose to live your life, the yamas and niyamas, they're sometimes called like the 10 commandments, of the yoga philosophy.
Yeah.
That even those things, which aren't so easy and from a surface level aren't necessarily about creating a joyful life, that's the outcome, right?
Right.
I think it's also interesting that you said that that Dharma, when you're in alignment with your Dharma, that's when things start to get a little bit easier, when you're in the flow of life. Because I'm just going to make an observation from some of the past interviews. Some people have said that, and some people have said it's the stuff that challenges you. And I think there is, those seem like opposites. But even you just now said you have to continue practicing, even if your Dharma is a teacher. So it's like an interesting line that we toe.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I've also been listening to the podcast, and a lot of times we think we can. It's easy to get it confused. Like, life is easy, I'm on the right path. Life is hard, I'm not on the right path, or something is wrong. But I agree. I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think you're not going to know what's good unless you have the bad, and you're not going to know what's easy unless you have the difficult. And I think it's important to, keep your nose to the ground in a sense when it comes to Dharma and fulfilling work and practice.
So Ainsley, why don't you tell us a little bit about what your personal yoga practice looks like? Because you've already sort of started to allude to it a bit by saying that there's more to it than asana, but I am, and I'm sure the other listeners will be interested to hear what you're doing on a daily basis or weekly, whatever it is, and how it supported you on your path.
Well, like anything else, it's changed a whole lot. I mean, when I first started, I thought it was just physical postures. And honestly, for like 5 or 6 years, it was just physical. And I would do my yoga poses, and that was my yoga practice. And, nowadays I kind of like smile at that, because there are plenty of days where my yoga practice is seated meditation, doing transcendental meditation, TM, and a whole lot of mantras. Mantras all day long are definitely.
You're loving the mantras.
Loving it, yeah. I just can't get enough of them, because for me, I guess I like to have a good time, and I think that mantra, you repeat and it just like rips away any pain and suffering in your life. Like, even if it's like hard or challenging and it brings a lot of painful stuff to the surface, but like it's a way to just really tap into the love that's everywhere at all times. And so I really enjoy, I always say mantra every single day, at least 2. I just really like it right now. And probably that might not change ever, but so back to the question, back on track.
Well, actually, no, this is kind of an interesting little tangent that we're going on, because I can tell that you're very, very passionate, very enthusiastic about this. Can you maybe give us an example of a way that using a mantra has really affected a change in your life, either recently or not so recently?
Yeah, I guess for a few years. So I have been teaching Bikram for a really long time. Well, maybe not really long, like 5-6 years. That's not long. But and I had just kind of sensed I was searching for something more, and I knew that I wanted to just explore more of the not just physical postures, but, like yoga philosophy, and feeling a little bit unsure about how I was going to do that, where I was going to go, if I was capable of making a switch, because I had been so into that community for feels like a long time, but it's not when you say it out loud. But
relative to however long you've been practicing yoga in general, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So for a longish time. And so started to chant Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha daily, and to Ganesha to remove obstacles. And it was funny because so I went to a vinyasa teacher training this past January, Jared McCann's vinyasa, and
I think I might have
before,
seen you there.
yeah, in passing. So I actually, your wife, Veronica, introduced me to that mantra maybe like 4 months prior to the training. And it was funny. I would say like a couple different mantras at that time. And then she had, introduced me to that one. And any day that I said that mantra, like, can I cuss on here?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
We've
Okay.
got the explicit rating. You can say whatever you need.
Shit would hit the fan. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, just like things got brought up, and I was like kind of scared, like a little gun shy of that mantra after like 10 times saying it, and then like, oh my God, like what's happening? And then so that, day one of the vinyasa teacher training, I go because I'm like, this is the next step. I feel like this is the next step. I admire the people that are like in charge and being a part of it. And I want to be a part of it too. So went up there first day, first thing is like a little bit like, okay, welcome everybody. And then we sit down and we're going to do our mantra. And the first one that he says is Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. And I'm like, oh my God, I got 2 weeks of this every single day. And it was kind of divine, honestly, because it was like, all right, face it, girl, like now's the time. And I feel, unstuck. And I don't know, I guess it's a good way to bring things to the surface, and it's not always kittens and rainbows, but it's a way to just be unfazed. I feel like in your daily life, having a consistent mantra practice, or even just like sitting down on your butt for 5 minutes, I think that's a really great thing too.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to answer this if it's too uncomfortable, but what came up? Like, why did you have the fear of having to do that mantra for 2 weeks straight?
I think I'm trying to remember like the first, because there are a couple of things, like the very first time, I think it was like old emotional patterns. Because like I had a lacrosse coach, that I'm actually grateful for, but at the time I definitely wasn't. But so I played at a competitive level, like pretty highly competitive in high school, and so I was the worst person on the team because, I mean, that I was playing in Maryland, and like they're so good there, and so anyway, so I'd like the motherland, yeah. So I'd fly up there, and just to give you an idea of my life in high school is, blonde little cheerleader flies up after the Friday night game at 6 a.m. on Saturday to go play lacrosse and, like, I don't know, get the snot beaten out of her.
Yeah.
It was a really humbling experience, but I really needed it. But I was told all the time, like, you're not good enough, you're too skinny, you look too girly, like your shorts are short, they shouldn't be short, they should be basketball shorts or lacrosse shorts, I guess. I don't know why. But anyway, like just a lot of no, like got beaten into my young little brain for several years. And then I would start to doubt myself and just assume, and I don't know, like that compounded with the fact that like growing up as a female in the South, I feel like particularly, like it's rude if you accept a compliment. It's rude if you like own something, like, oh yeah, this is good and I'm happy that I did this, or I'm proud of whatever I did. It's like, oh, I couldn't have done that. Like, I'm not good enough. And so
yeah, curtsy and twirl out.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So like not only growing up with like that mentality, but then also being like, actually, you're not good enough. You're not da 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 da. Like that gave me huge self-confidence issues. And it was, through college and God, even like years after. But, yoga has really turned it around and, just
And
changing the way that
specifically
my
these mantras.
definitely the mantras. Absolutely. And, but it's funny because like when I would say those mantras, I would have these days where I would just have like crippling doubt and I'd be like crying and not really know why, and like old relationship patterns of like allowing somebody to treat me a certain way because I didn't feel like I was strong enough to be like, actually, like that's kind of fucked up, or like, actually wait, like I deserve something better. And so like I feel like it brought the doubt that I had thought I had moved through up to the surface so I could really face it. And it was, it was interesting. I hadn't really thought about mantras in this way until I went to the training, and Jared had said like, we're going to do like the Ganesh mantra, and then we're also going to do one that kind of like is going to you're going to keep your head while you're saying all these mantras and like doing all these like practices. Like you'll be able to like ground yourself as well with this other mantra. So it's kind of cool how like it's basically like making a smoothie or making a drink, you know what I mean? It's like you
you
mix
work
this
out
with
the
that.
cocktails that
Yes.
provide the perfect combination of energetic effects for you in that specific moment, whatever you're going through. Yeah, I can totally appreciate that.
Yeah. So yeah.
So that's like a relatively recent discovery or addition to your practice, and I know that you've been teaching for much longer than that. So why don't you take us back to a moment before that, at some point where your Dharma clicked, or in some way you discovered or realized that you needed to be teaching?
Okay. That's a great question. So I was practicing consistently. I started practicing consistently in college. A friend of mine had passed away, and I just got really depressed. And long story short, found yoga. Oh my God, loved it. Started going every day, and I just felt like I gotta share this, because I had no idea what yoga was, and like I guess it was right when it started to get like super popular is when I started practicing. I don't know, but anyways, I was like, people have to know about this. Like, you don't have to hide, you don't have to run, you don't have to accept defeat. Like, you can change the way you're self healing. Like, this is amazing. How is this kind of hidden right now? And so I don't know what major I was at the time, but I just went into my counselor's office and I was like, hey girl, like what degree is going to get me out of here the fastest? Because I just want to teach.
Yeah.
And we had like an honest conversation. So anyways, and I actually majored in psychology, which really helps me in my teaching. But so I got certified to teach just regular 200-hour RYT vinyasa in Knoxville. And so I was teaching at the time before I graduated, and I didn't know that I would be teaching full time. I didn't expect that I could be. Again, self-doubt. But so I graduated, and I just had it in my mind. I remember thinking like, this just really feels right. And the moment that it starts to not feel right, I will go back to grad school for my, math, like whatever they call it. I don't even know about psychology. Like, and then I'll, maybe I'll teach on the side, and maybe I'll incorporate it, and that will be that end of chapter. And knock on wood, things have just worked out when I have been focused on my teaching, and I've just accepted and like gone with it. You know what I mean? Not been like, okay, maybe I need to stop now because we all know what yoga teachers make. But
we don't do it for the money,
like,
that's for sure.
We sure don't. But it's such a beautiful life. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, so that was a really clear, and I like kept every year being like, okay, the moment that it starts to not be working out, I'm just gonna, I'll go a different route. And that's not to say that I haven't had years where like it's been really hard to be a yoga teacher, but I
Okay, yeah.
absolutely love it.
I was just
Yes.
about to say that because yeah, nothing has knocked you off course so much that you said I got to go get, an office job or be a clinical psychologist or something, but
Right.
it's never just a straight upward trajectory with anything in life. So
Right.
take us to a different moment where you hit a wall, living your dharma, doing your teaching. What resistance did you face and what did you do to power through it?
Okay. So I'm trying to think of what year it was. I guess it doesn't matter, but maybe a few years back, I don't know, 3 or 4. I really have no idea. I
But
was
you'd
in
been
St.
teaching for
Louis.
some time.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
I was teaching in St. Louis and I was studying with my friend, but also I consider her one of my mentors, Jessica Rask. And my very best friend, I had at the time, okay, so backstory is, um, so I do the little competition thing. I was like just basically chasing the yoga, like moving around a lot, chasing teachers that I really wanted to learn from, chasing communities that I like really liked what they were about so we could like practice more together. Just basically a total nerd about it. So I go to St. Louis and I'm there and I'm really enjoying, learning and the yoga part, but it felt a little full throttle for me. I feel like I was avoiding other areas in my life. Anyway, so my best friend from like since I was 3 was getting married, and that kind of hit me hard. I was like, man, I'm away from her and I'm away from all my friends, and oh my god, I've been away for like 3 years doing this thing. Like, what's it all about? Why am I doing this? I'm moving back home. And so I moved back home to Memphis, and I'm actually really glad that I did, because I would wanted to like be a part of every single process and every party and stuff, and I think that's important. So anyways, I was there, and I was trying to find, I was like, okay, I'm going to move back and just be a teacher here. And so I moved back, and I could not find a full-time teaching job to save my life. I was teaching 2 or 3 classes a week. And I mean, I'm not even going to tell you what I was getting paid. It was like nothing. And
Yeah.
so there was just, I like, thank God, my parents still live in my hometown, Memphis. And so I was like living there. It was a real hard time. And I couldn't find a studio, because at the time I was practicing Bikram yoga and like one vinyasa every few weeks, but really not that much at all. But so I just couldn't find a community to plug into to do the practice that I wanted to do.
Was there
And
no Bikram studio?
there was, but
Yeah. Okay.
okay.
It wasn't up to snuff.
It was, yeah, just I don't know. So
Well, based on your
okay.
standards at the time, you were
Right.
hitting it really
Yes.
intensely. When you say you were traveling around, are you talking about doing like Mary Jarvis's shape-shifting weeks and that sort of
Yes.
thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I was doing third sets, and I wanted to do, because I mean, we can talk about that later, but like I'm a full believer in, if you can stick your leg behind the head, what are you waiting for? Stick your leg behind the head and make it work. Like, don't be like, I can do that one day a week, or I'll do that tomorrow. Like, do it now, because you're not guaranteed that. Anyways,
Yeah, I mean, I
so
think that's true of everything in life. If you can
oh,
do it now, do it now.
right, because you never know. But
Right.
and why not? But so anyway, so like I just couldn't practice really how I wanted to, and I certainly couldn't teach how I wanted to. And I really thought that I wanted to be in a life that was kind of similar to the life that I knew. I don't know. But like still be in the yoga community, and I just couldn't find a job. And so I would play a recording of, I had 2 friends that I had recorded their classes, and I would play on my phone that class every single day by myself, and I would practice like in my garage or in my room, and then I would do my Mary Jarvis homework and all my back bends and blah, blah, blah. And so it ended up being like 4 hours alone in a small room. And it was actually right now, a lot of times, most of my practice is a home practice and I'm really loving it. But at the time, I don't know that I was exactly ready for a steady home practice. I don't think I had the tools or the
Yeah.
mental strength to do it. But so it was really hard because I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I needed to do, but I just couldn't do it. So I was kind of at a riff, like, do I stay here and be with my friends and blah, 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 or do I just get out and I just, know when to fold them. And so it was like 6 months of really trying to make it work and teaching workshops, but like at the time, like I was lucky to get one workshop a month, teaching, and that wasn't enough to cut it really. And so that was hard. That was really hard a time. But it was actually really good because then like it was a test. It wasn't like, are you practicing all this much and doing all these things because it's convenient or because everybody else around you is doing it? It really showed me like, no, this is like what really fulfills my soul and makes me happy and keeps me grounded is a steady, consistent practice. And it really like, I don't know, put some meat on my spiritual bones.
Yeah.
If that, know.
What I'm taking away from that is like you made this decision to come back home because something in you was telling you that you should be more balanced, that like your life was like a little bit too like focused or obsessive.
Yeah.
Side note, like I think a lot of us share that. A lot of us that like dive headfirst into our yoga practice, we all have a little bit of that obsessive element in us.
Yeah.
But then once you got there, you still kept doing it. So you didn't really actually give yourself the balance that like your head told you because your heart wanted to keep being obsessive. And it's like you don't need to necessarily play by someone else's rules. That's what I get from that. What would you want our listeners to take away from that story?
Well, absolutely. I agreed. Like, you don't have to play by someone else's rules. Because what also I found was like, being in Memphis and, or just like being anywhere, I don't know, like feeling like, okay, I can play both sides. I felt like I had to prove to, I don't know, myself or somebody else, like, no, like I'm the cool girl. I can like juice and do whatever like makes me real happy and do yoga all day. And then like go out and like drink a bunch. It just caused pain because it was so total opposite. And I felt like I was living my life to prove that I could do it all. And it just, for me, like it just wasn't working. And so finding balance is also like not partaking in everything for the sake of balance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
On
the same note of the obsessive yogi, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into the competition circuit and what purpose that served for you or continues to serve for you?
So I was practicing at a studio and the studio owner was like really into it, and I had no idea like any of that even existed. And there, I don't know, maybe it was like 2008, 2009, and they're like, hey, you should do this like competition thing. And I was like, what? It just kind of naturally fit though, because I grew up playing competitive sports, so like a competition was something that like was very natural to me and something that I didn't ever see it as me against somebody else. It had always been in sports like, okay, perform at a higher level because for you, not like beat this other team or whatever. And so I was drawn to that aspect of it. And also it felt good to share something that's so private. I feel like, your yoga practice, it's not something that you're doing on the street all the time or that everybody sees. Like maybe everybody knows that about you, that you practice, but certainly, I mean, well, maybe now with Instagram, I don't know. But so anyways, so I competed in 2009, 2008, I don't know. And it helped me, it gave me a little community, honestly, because I knew I like joined a sorority in college and then immediately was like, what am I doing? This is not for me. And it's great for other people, but it just wasn't for me. And I just felt a little lost. Like I was doing these things, I thought I should be doing them, but I was like, this doesn't feel right. So it felt really nice to have a community that I could go and practice with and train for this competition and do yoga that made me so happy. And for me, like I've, luckily been kind of successful at it, but for me, I love just meeting other yogis that are passionate about the practice and that are enthusiastic about practicing. And I love watching people do yoga, and I love seeing like, oh, that's something I hadn't even thought about doing, or, it just feels good to support somebody. So it's given me an opportunity to teach workshops, which has been nice, and go out and put my name out there, which is great. But selfishly, I like it because I get to see my friends
Yeah.
whenever it's like basically. And a lot of people are like, what is this competition thing? Like,
oh
I
yeah,
don't really
so many
understand
people
it.
like have this gut reaction that it's antithetical to what yoga is all about. But I
Yeah.
mean, the way that you just put it is, you just hit the nail on the head. At least, it's that resonates with my experience with it too. It's like a yoga reunion, and it's all about the community.
Yeah, the best way I can describe it is it's like Comic-Con, but like for yogis. So like only the like nerds come out for it and just have the best time ever, and not everybody has to understand it, and that's fine, but and not everybody has to do it. If they love yoga, you can never compete. I don't know, it's just a good thing to do. And two, like being, now that I didn't compete nationally this year, but I mean I will internationally again, and I'm excited to like see all the people that I met last time. But for me, it's really fun now because, like where I am teaching, some people will come up and say like, I think I want to like compete. And so you can kind of like, it's a way to give back, and like you see that light go off and you see them start to get a little bit more dedicated to their practice and get a little bit more excited about things, and also like carry themselves. They've got a little bit more self-confidence, not conceit, but confidence in themselves. And I think that's something that I really enjoy doing. And if my name is associated with, competition and stuff, but I get to see that part of it, like the other people, their lights go off and they just like turn this new page in their practice because they're really dedicated to it now. I think that's a really huge gift that I get to have.
Well, if I recall from, earlier in this conversation, confidence and building that sense of self was one of the original things that really drew you into the practice in the first place. So I can totally see why the competition would be so beneficial for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been such a, great thing to be a part of. And it's good to see in other people what it does too.
Yeah. Okay, Ainsley, tell us one more story. Take us to a major win, whatever that means to you, that reaffirmed your conviction in your teaching and yourself and the impact that you're making. So what happened, and what did you do with that success to keep it up?
Ooh, let's see. I guess, well,
I know you have something coming up.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, thanks, Henry.
Yeah. Try to come in with a lifeline every now and then.
Okay. Thanks. Mackenzie Dreher and I are hosting a retreat in July in Puerto Morales at Casa Om. And it's in July 1st through 7th. And I actually had some people sign up. And so like today I've been walking around with my head a little higher and a little skip in my step. But, I knew I needed to do that because she had asked me to, like, hey, would you want to? And I was a little gun shy because I was thinking, like, are people going to sign? Mackenzie.
Oh, Mackenzie.
I was like, would you want to? And like do this thing with me? And I was I put it off kind of like for a month. I was like noticing myself being like, no. And then I started to ask, why am I saying no? Like, is it because the timing? Is it because this or that? And it was because of a fear. Like I had this fear, what if no one signs up? And that happens to like every workshop that I teach, like, what if no one signs up? And so what, but,
I mean, I've had workshops where no one showed up. It happens.
Me too.
Yeah.
It happens. And you still got to be like, thank you, Memphis.
Yeah. You teach like the 3 people who bothered to come, and you enjoy the experience, and you learn something from it.
Sometimes those are the most fun, because then it's just, you're hanging out doing yoga. But so I was like, I don't know if people are going to come. I don't know if I'm good enough to do this. And then I was like, you know what? Actually, that means that I absolutely have to do this. And so I just like keep repeating to myself, like, you're capable of this. You are, you're ready. And so I said yes. We made a flyer. And we've gotten some really positive feedback. And so that's been, I guess, a more tangible thing of like, yeah, you're on the right path. But it feels good to put yourself out there. And sometimes that's really scary, and sometimes it's not successful or fun. But, the alternative, I feel like, is a lot worse than like, whoops, oh well, So I'm really excited about it, and I hope that everybody comes.
Yeah. So how can people find out about that? Where can they go to learn more about that?
You can go to my fancy dancy new website. It's AinsleyAyres.com, and I've got a name that's hard to spell, so it's AinsleyAyres.com/retreats, and you can get more info, or you can sign up through my website.
Cool. And that'll be linked in the show notes, so don't worry too much about having to write down the spelling.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, Ainsley, apart from getting your message out on the podcast, what are you doing today to live your Dharma?
Ooh, today I taught a class, and that's the class that I'm going to teach today. And I actually just finished practicing. I think it is the most important thing to keep practicing as a teacher, because you've got something to give them. So today I'm practicing and teaching, and I still need to do my meditation. So I will be doing that before I clean my closet tonight.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Just, I think it's important, just like checking in, keeping up with your practice, and, teaching. Yeah, sure. But,
cleaning out all those closets,
man, and enjoying it, so I'm having a great day doing all this stuff.
All right. Well, let's take it over to the prana round. The prana round is where I ask you 6 rapid fire questions and ask you to answer in as little as 1 word, maximum 1 sentence. You got it?
Okay. Yes.
Ready to go?
Yes.
Okay. In 1 word, why do you practice yoga?
Freedom.
What's your favorite yoga pose and why? You must pick one.
I know. I love them all. But the one I just love is full wheel. Because I feel like maybe that's how I should be standing at all times, just because I love that feeling. It feels like, this is so cheesy, but this is actually what came to my mind. It just feels like home. Holding my ankles and being in a back bend just feels right.
Nice. Okay. What is the single best cue? And that can be, like physical or general piece of advice that you've ever received from a yoga teacher.
Enjoy the work.
Enjoy the work. Okay. Recommend 1 book, modern or ancient, for our audience.
Okay. It's The Book of Joy, and it's by Douglas Abrams, but it's like Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu have a convo, and Douglas Abrams records it, but it's phenomenal. Changes your perspective.
Great. Okay, is yoga for everyone?
It is for the willing, and it's a hard path to walk. It's really hard, actually, but it's the most rewarding, I feel like. And if you're willing, it's there.
I like that. It's for the willing.
Yeah.
Okay, how can our audience get in touch with you, and what can we do to support you in your Dharma?
Okay. Well, you can get in touch with me on Instagram through my Insta handle, or whatever they call it, is Ainsley Ayres. And you can also go onto my website, and it has pretty much all my contact info. It's ainsleyayres.com. I've got a Facebook page, Ainsley Ayres Yoga. But if you go on my website, you can see my upcoming events, the retreat. You can sign up for it. And thanks to Karma Savvy. And you can support me in my Dharma by living yours and helping us all do the same.
I love it. Ainsley, thank you so much for joining us on Dharma Talk. It's been a pleasure to have you on, and keep enjoying life.
Thanks so much, Henry.
If you got something out of this episode, if you like Dharma Talk and want to keep it going, please do me a huge favor and subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. I know it's not the most convenient thing to do, but it makes all the difference in getting the show out there and more visible to other people who can benefit from it. And hey, if you've got feedback or ideas, or you want to get in touch with me, you can do that on Instagram @HenryWins. Otherwise, I'll talk to you next week. And until then, keep living your Dharma.